Hi everyone, and thank you for taking the time joining this session at Devtoberfest on BW Move, explore your options today. So my name is Dominik Kurz and I am part of the product management and strategy team for data warehousing and responsible for BW Move related topics together with BW for HANA, BW Bridge and the integration into SAP Datasphere. So first, I would like to guide you quickly through our statement of directions. So many of you have maybe seen that we have updated the current version 4 weeks before. So SAP Datasphere is our strategic target solution for all data warehouse and data management use cases in the public cloud. With the change towards the public cloud, we are in a transition compared to the old SAP BW on-premise solution. If you would like to protect your investment from SAP BW, you can build on existing skills with our tool-supported move with SAP BW Bridge. And SAP Datasphere fully supports the rise and grow with SAP strategies, and we offer a 90-day trial option, which can be transferred to a productive environment later on. Our strong SAP partner network can help you to start your journey from the on-premise world towards our cloud solution. To ease the transition of our installed base customers, we offer public cloud as well as private cloud options in RISE with SAP, enabling them to make the right technology choice for their business needs. While SAP Datasphere is a ready-to-run cloud application that delivers the latest best practices and continuous innovations, the SAP BW for HANA Cloud Private Edition is a tailored to fit cloud offering, helping customers to adapt their unique transformation needs. SAP ERP customers moving to S4HANA Cloud, leveraging our RISE with SAP strategy, need to consider a way forward for their on-premise BW deployments. Some operational reporting analytics workflows can be moved to SAP S4HANA Cloud and get covered by the embedded analytics, but for the most part, the need for comprehensive data and analytic functionality, including data warehousing, will remain. So in order to help customers transition to a modern business data fabric with SAP Datasphere, we support several innovation journey paths. So especially considering the pending end of maintenance of SAP BW in 2027. So for example, customers that have already invested into a project to move from SAP BW to BW for HANA should continue on that path in order to land on a supported and full-featured product version. They can then move to SAP Datasphere directly or simply add SAP Datasphere to extend their business warehouse deployment with the innovation, openness, and self-service abilities in a hybrid scenario. Over time, the workloads can get increasingly shifted to SAP Datasphere, and customers can even leverage the SAP BW Bridge component to reuse and integrate BW objects with a tool-supported move, shell or remote, or leverage the BW-based data ingestion and staging, including the BW for HANA business content as an accelerator. So in some cases, customers can already move their SAP BW system directly to SAP Datasphere, and that is also the recommended solution for business week customers that don't have a BW deployment yet. So regardless which initial path the customer chooses, they can always move forward to SAP Datasphere. So both technically BW Bridge and tool supported move, and commercially private cloud subscription can be converted to public cloud subscription. So as I've already explained, SAP Datasphere is our strategic target solution and the successor of SAP BW and BW for HANA. It's important to understand that when it comes to move to SAP Datasphere, we are not talking about a migration as it was previously the case in the business warehouse. So rather, we are talking about a modernization of the data warehousing architecture. So in order to consider which data warehousing architecture is the right for you, an understanding of the company data stored in classic SAP BW is elementary. It is primarily about categorizing existing data. So these can be, at the end of the day, divided into three sub areas. So on the one hand side, there is of course always reporting relevant data, which is in the most cases the current year and the previous year. So active staging data is still updated regularly and covers, for example, the last 3 to 5 years. So the largest data set is mostly legacy relevant data, which is still available due to regulatory requirements, but is very rarely reported or used. So in the SAP BW world, all data was stored centrally on-premise without having a clear data strategy or data categorization concept. So that was possible because resources required were not that relevant. So some customers took already the first step towards a data strategy or a data categorization by leveraging SAP IQ as a cold storage option under BW 4 HANA. But a public cloud strategy needs data categorization because cloud resources are dependent on the hyperscaler offering, and the cost of a data footprint becomes an important factor to consider. So let's jump directly more into the detail and talk quickly about the options, how to move to SAP Datasphere. So first of all, as I've already mentioned, we are not talking about a regular conversion like in the past. Rather, we talk about a modernization approach. So some customers also come to the conclusion that they want to start completely new with SAP Datasphere because their current BW data models are outdated or not worth bringing them into the new architecture. So that means building up a business data fabric without any of the constraints of the legacy deployment approach. So completely focus on modernization and a simplified data landscape. So other customers decide, for example, starting on a greenfield with the deployment of a common data layer or legacy data in proven SAP BW technology with all unique functions such as transforming data, managing data loading with partitioning, monitoring, or error handling. So combine proven SAP BW functionality with modern cloud architecture and take your business warehouse to the next level. So the entity import, for example, or SAP BW 4 HANA model import in SAP Datasphere automatically creates a new analytic model in the data builder based on SAP BW artifacts and also queries. So business layer artifacts in SAP Datasphere like dimensions or consumptions are also creatable automatically, but they are optional. So when it comes to securing investments and skills, there is no getting around of SAP BW Bridge and SAP Datasphere. You can move your SAP data models and queries to SAP BW Bridge with a tool supported move or conversion, like a simple shell or remote conversion. As I've already mentioned, the entity import for SAP BW Bridge and SAP Datasphere automatically creates a new analytic model in the data builder. In comparison to the BW 4 HANA model import, we resolve the composite provider, for example, specially for SAP BW Bridge and the architecture approach in SAP Datasphere, so-called layers shift. So our last option shown here on the right-hand side is aimed specially at customers who want to release data models from SAP BW 4 HANA and take them over into the direction of SAP Datasphere. So in the first step, SAP BW Hybrid can be used with SAP Datasphere. In addition to the advantages already explained in option 3, a synchronization option can be used between SAP BW 4 HANA as a source and SAP BW Bridge as a target system. So this allows to keep data models in sync until the final data model has been transferred to SAP BW Bridge and imported into SAP Datasphere Core. So the old data flow in SAP BW for HANA can then be removed from the reporting, and you have shifted your data models now completely to our public cloud offering. So in summary, it can be said that customers who have already made a conversion towards SAP BW for HANA have already taken the first important step towards SAP Datasphere. So hybrid models between SAP Datasphere and SAP BW for HANA will be further developed, and the most of SAP BW artifacts can already be used in SAP Datasphere. So with SAP BW Bridge in Datasphere, you transfer all your legacy relevant data flows with the same conversion option as in the above scenario completely into the direction of our public cloud core offering and benefit from the optimal integration between regular SAP BW functionality with ABAP and SAP Datasphere. So maybe let us jump quickly a bit more into the detail and have a look into a Big Bang approach or gradual transition towards SAP Datasphere. So by a Big Bang approach, we understand the direct takeover of SAP BW related data flows towards the public cloud and our strategic target solution, SAP Datasphere. So of course, this does not mean that all existing data models have to be adopted in one step. By using a shell conversion, you migrate scopes from the SAP BW context, and these can be of different sizes and also contain only individual data flows. So use the remaining time until the end of maintenance in 2027, and meanwhile bring all used data flows into the direction of SAP BW Bridge and modernize your query layer with our entity import in SAP Datasphere. So SAP BW Bridge space is automatically provided from our side and acts as an inbound space for all BW Bridge related data models and reflects your regular ABAP instance. So via our model import remote table on all part providers of a composite provider is created, and a remote table on all assigned info objects with master data as well. So on top of that, an analytic model reflects your composite provider, where all part providers are joined together again. And the new query artifact is the new analytic model. So this one should be used for reporting purposes within SAC later on. So many customers are also faced with the challenge that not all company data can be kept in the public cloud, or that regular SAP BW functionality with, for example, add-ons or hybrid models is still required. So in this case, the gradual transition comes into the game. As already mentioned in the previous slides, we provide for SAP BW for HANA a support commitment until 2040. And we are currently planning to deliver a new product version every 2 years. And this year, for example, also SAP BW for HANA 2023 will be released end of October. So customers who decide to move to SAP BW for HANA as an initial step can start with hybrid scenarios with SAP Datasphere and import data models into SAP Datasphere even without BW Bridge. So I'll explain the difference in a short demo afterwards. Especially for customers who have already migrated to SAP BW for HANA or are currently planning to do so, we offer an easy synchronization option of metadata between SAP BW for HANA as a sender and SAP BW Bridge as a target system. So SAP BW Bridge is based on the same code line as BW for HANA and can be therefore combined very, very easily. So this means that data models can slowly be moved from SAP BW for HANA at your own pace and transferred to SAP BW Bridge. The synchronization option allows data models to be overwritten multiple times in the target system if changes in the original data flow in SAP BW for HANA had to be implemented later on. So after the respective data model has been completely adopted and kept in sync, the original data flow in SAP BW for HANA can then be switched off and the data supply for the respective reports comes via SAP Datasphere with SAP BW Bridge as a feature on top. So as I've already mentioned, when we talk about a modernization of the data warehousing architecture, it is important to know what the complexity drivers are inside of your regular SAP BW deployment. So when we look at a complex SAP BW architecture, complexity drivers are quite easy to identify. So these 6 SAP BW features makes your SAP BW architecture at the end of the day complex. So SAP BW queries based on the OLAP engine, non-ODP sources, open hubs, APDs, add-ons like BPC or BCS or mixed modeling. So all customers use classic SAP BW queries based on the OLAP engine. So this changes drastically with SAP Datasphere. So SAP Datasphere is our semantic layer combining data from several sources and layers and covers the same functionality as OLAP queries. So many features have already been implemented, others have been identified and are listed as roadmap items. And I will also show you a bit more in detail what kind of features are already working, what kind of features are planned, and we also have a blacklist what kind of features are currently not planned for SAP Datasphere. So SAP BW Bridge is our ingestion and staging layer for SAP related sources like SAP ECC or S/4HANA. Important to understand with this regard is that other sources have to be moved to SAP Datasphere Core. SAP Datasphere provides many more data source types than SAP BW, and all data sources that were available in the BW context are equally available in SAP Datasphere. So a classic SAP BW is often used to distribute company data. Using OpenHub, CSV files are sent to other target systems. In SAP Datasphere, data can be made accessible to other target systems easily via API. Usually, sorry, usually the analysis process designer is used to find and identify hidden or complex relationships between data from various databases from systems in a company. So the analysis results are saved in BW data targets like advanced data store objects. For SAP BW for HANA, there is a conversion option offered into a data flow object, and in SAP Datasphere, you have the option to modernize the APD or analysis process with a data flow artifact, but this is manual effort. Another effort driver within the modernization approach are classic add-ons that were used in SAP BW, such as BPC for planning or SAM BCS for consolidation. So SAP BW add-ons are not supported in SAP Datasphere and are also not supported on SAP BW Bridge as a feature on Datasphere. So strategically, the successor for SAM BCS is S/4HANA Group Reporting. So the successor of SAP BPC is SAP Analytics Cloud Planning. For SAP BW for HANA, we support the consolidation add-on BCS for HANA, and BCS is aligned with the S/4HANA maintenance strategy. So the last identified challenge is mixed modeling. So SAP HANA on-premise is based on XS Classic, while SAP HANA Cloud Engine underlaying of SAP Datasphere is based on XS Advanced. So due to this challenge, a migration cannot be offered currently. So this is manual effort. To give you also more detailed insights into the most important complexity driver, let's jump maybe straight away into the details of our best of SAP BW features for SAP Datasphere. So features which were already supported in SAP Datasphere and were also part of our model conversion or entity import, which I've already mentioned, especially for BW 4 HANA and BW Bridge, are calculated key figures, restricted key figures, filters, time dependency, key figures with currency, navigational attributes, texts, and also currency conversion. So additional features which will be released soon is, for example, handling and reuse of existing SAP BW hierarchies. So you don't have to re-implement all your SAP BW hierarchies in Datasphere. So you really can reuse your existing hierarchies out of the SAP BW context. So another highly anticipated feature I'd quickly like to highlight is non-cumulative key figures. So this is planned for Q2 in 2024. So beside of that, I also want to highlight quickly that we also plan to offer a conversion for multi-structured queries or two structured queries. And the first version is already available via SAP Analytics Cloud, so-called cross calculations, and will be adapted to SAP Datasphere in the upcoming quarters and months. But I don't have a detailed timeline yet, especially for multi-structure or two-structure support in SAP Datasphere. So important is also to understand that we won't implement all SAP BW functionalities in SAP Datasphere, but the most popular ones, like the ones I've mentioned before, are planned. So SAP BW features which are not that often used can be found in our blacklist here on the right-hand side. So for example, a temporal join or an ambiguous join, for example, are not planned yet for SAP Datasphere. All right. So to give you also a better feeling about the SAP BW Bridge entity import and BW 4 HANA model import, let's move forward and give you more hands-on examples. Okay, so let's start directly with the demo and our conversion option. So we quickly jump into the backend system and migrate easily data flow from a BW 4 HANA sender system to our BW Bridge target system, and then run an entity import, and we compare it afterwards also with our BW 4 HANA model conversion, which is especially for the hybrid approach with SAP Datasphere. So first of all, here in our Eclipse environment, we've connected BW 4 HANA sandbox. So this is a BW 4 HANA 2021. And there we have defined an info area, so-called data challenge BW4 and BW bridge solution. And we also have defined several info areas. And beside of that, of course, we also have defined some objects, so the sales order item and the sales order, and our virtual data mart layer as a composite provider with the sales reporting. So we're quickly jumping into it. And if we have a look into the definition, we have here the sales order and the sales order item, a simple left outer join. And if we also check quickly the output structure, we have also the associated info objects here. And on top of this composite provider, we have defined a query, for example, DevToberfest 2023. And we're quickly jumping into this query and going into the sheet definition. And there, for example, we have the product category and also some key figures defined, of course. So the quantity and the net amount, so they are invisible. And on top of that, we have defined some calculated and restricted key figures, for example. So the previous year net amount, current year net amount, and the percentage deviation between the net amount of the current year and the previous year. And our goal is now to convert this whole info area with all the objects, advanced data store objects, composite provider, and query towards BW Bridge. And therefore, we're jumping quickly into our SAP logon, and then starting from STC 01. And there we have the option to run our task list, especially for a shell or remote conversion. And we can easily start running this task list. And in the first step, it's always necessary to collect a scope for the transfer. And as I've already mentioned, a scope can be of different sizes. And our scope for the conversion now is our composite provider. The technical name was set PM CP sales, and then we can save it and start running on this task list now. And in the second step, we have to define the scope a little bit more granular. So define the object mapping, and we're jumping into it. And since BW Bridge 2211, so November last year, we have the option to show and hide, and also, of course, migrate query elements. And we would now like to transport our query for the Devtoberfest. And here it is. We can easily select it, and automatically all the relevant query elements are collected and selected as well. And then we have to define a package, and we're now using our set PM data challenge package, assign a transport request and the task, and click on save, jump back, and then we can start running the task list again. And now we're jumping from the scope definition phase towards the prepare phase. And inside of the prepare phase, we're getting some hints inside of the BW Bridge conversion. That means we have to click quickly on resolve for bodies and authorizations. And then we're jumping back into the task list and running it again. And now we're jumping from the prepare phase into the finalization phase. And now we're getting the message that the conversion and the transport of our data model was finished successfully. So that means our whole info area with the data model is now transferred to BW Bridge. And then we can check quickly also in our HANA Studio. So in HANA Studio, for example, I've connected here my BW Bridge system, which is underneath of our product management Datasphere tenant. And our goal was now to transport or to migrate the info area data challenge for BW4 and BW Bridge solution. And as you can see, also the other info areas together with the objects were migrated. So we have our operational data store layer, our propagation layer, architected data mart layer, and virtual data mart layer. And of course, also our composite provider for sales reporting is visible here. And if we check the scenario, it's exactly the same what you have seen in our BW4 HANA standard system. So the difference in between, in BW Bridge, we don't have the OLAP engine enabled. So that means all the query stuff is invisible inside of your Eclipse environment. And now we have to transport, or let's say import, the entities for our existing OLAP query inside of Datasphere core. But before, we can easily check also if the query was converted towards BW Bridge, and therefore we're jumping quickly into our BW Bridge cockpit, and inside of our BW Bridge cockpit. We have all this, let's say, maintenance stuff. We have this technical monitoring. And beside of that, we also have our Datasphere monitoring and Datasphere modeling. And under Datasphere modeling, you can find now all the queries. That means all those 6 queries are now inside of my BW Bridge environment, and in our conversion before, we've converted to Devtoberfest 2023, so the set PMCP sales underscore 05 query towards BW Bridge, and now we can move on forward and import exactly this query inside of SAP Datasphere. So now we're jumping quickly into our Datasphere tenant and easily go into the data builder. And especially for our event today, I've created a new space, Devtoberfest. And inside of our target space, we can now start import entities, especially for BW Bridge. So we're selecting a connection type. We're selecting the target space, or this is automatically selected because we've already started from the target. And then we're getting the connection towards our BW Bridge. So this is automatically provided from our side. And then in the fourth step, we are able to select entities. And you can see here on the left-hand side, so there you can find our analytical dimensions, our analytical cubes, and also the analytical queries, what you have seen also inside of our BW Bridge cockpit. So now we're easily selecting the analytical query, and here you can find our Devtoberfest 2023 query again. So you can select it, click onto the next step, and jumping into the review entities phase. And there you are able to choose what kind of artifacts should be generated in the background. So it always creates automatically all, let's say, data builder artifacts, and of course also the remote table inside of your BW Bridge space. And optional, you can also create business entities or business entities and consumptions for the business layer as well, if you need it. So we're starting now with the data layer object, so we don't import the business layer artifacts now. And we can start import and deploy. And then normally in a few seconds or in a few minutes, you're getting the message that all the stuff was successfully imported into Datasphere core. And what is generated automatically in the background in the data layer is, of course, let's say, all the remote tables in the BW Bridge space. And inside of our target space here, for example, you can find now here the sales reporting analytical data set. And when we quickly jump into this data set, you can also see that this is not the original remote table, of course. So the remote table is inside of our BW Bridge space. So exactly our composite provider is listed here, or our part provider. That means the remote table on the advanced data store object. So on top of that, as I've already mentioned, we're generating automatically the new analytic model. So Devtoberfest 2023. So let's quickly jump into it. And you can see here, of course, now all the relevant measures. So that means net amount, quantity, and stuff like that, and the percentage deviation here. So unfortunately, we don't have the right naming here in between. So I've just changed quickly the text element before, but we also have, of course, also our dimensions, which were listed inside of our query. And now, of course, you can start using this new analytic model for reporting purposes within SAC. So interesting is also, of course, as I've already mentioned, the hybrid approach together with BW4HANA. And our goal is now also to show you a bit more in detail where is the difference. So as I've explained before, with BW Bridge, we provide you automatically this kind of inbound space in your Datasphere tenant. We can quickly jump into it where all the remote tables are listed, especially on all the info objects, and of course also, as I have mentioned, the part providers under the composite provider. And you are not able, for example, to create your own objects like the analytic model or stuff like that, or an SQL view inside of the BW Bridge space. So this is really just your inbound space for, let's say, BW Bridge related artifacts, and you deploy automatically all the Datasphere artifacts in your selected target space. So with BW4HANA, it's a bit different, and therefore we quickly jumping into the other tenant here. And what we have connected here, for example, is also, of course, a BW4HANA system. So in this case, it's the D2T. And in the D2T, we have nearly the same structure than before, but we don't have this special query for the Leftoverfest. But we have, let's say, the same composite provider, sales reporting, and we also have a query below. Let's quickly open the composite provider, so it's really the same sales order item, and there, for example, we have a query set PM CP sales underscore 02, where we really have, let's say, nearly the same definition than before with the net amount and the quantity, but we don't have in this kind of query the calculated and restricted key figures. And our goal is now to import exactly this kind of data model or this kind of query inside of Datasphere. And therefore, we're jumping back into our tenant and moving quickly into the business layer, because BW4HANA models are started, let's say, out of the business layer import. So there we have currently the import option. So this changes a bit in future. So at the end of the day, it's the same conversion option than we had with the BW Bridge model import, but it is located in a different kind of space logic here in between. And there we have the option to select the SAP BW4HANA model transfer wizard. And if we open it, we're getting the connection type. So this is a BW4HANA model import connection, so not a regular ABAP connection. And there we can now start searching for our query. Let's quickly check the technical name again. So it was called ZPM CP sales underscore 02, ZPM CP sales, search that way. And then we can select it here. And we also have the option to select what kind of artifacts should be created. So only data layer objects or also business layer artifacts. And we can now start also creating all the business layer artifacts, of course, and start running the import here. And after a few seconds, you should receive the message that the import was successful. So I've already imported it a few days before, and we can jump back now into our data builder. And what you can see here now is that all the remote tables are also imported in your, let's say, target space where you really have started the import itself. So that means, of course, we have our sales order reporting. We also have this, let's say, fact model on top. We can quickly jump into it. And what you can see here now, of course, as I have mentioned, the remote table is directly created in your starting space or in your target space where you've started the deployment. And the difference is also that with the BW for HANA model import, we are not resolving the composite provider. That means we are creating really a remote table based on the composite provider. So it's a bit different than the approach with BW Bridge. So there we have this so-called layers shift approach where we really bring layers from the LSA++ architecture from BW Bridge towards Datasphere. But with BW for HANA, it's a different kind of approach. And with this regards, also important to know that the remote table is based really on the composite provider itself. All right. So I hope you got a little bit an overview about the different kind of import options. So we've compared now the BW Bridge and BW for HANA model import quickly. And I hope you learned a bit or you learned something and got in general an overview about all the BW move related stuff. And of course, also with a deep dive into the conversion options and entity import options. Okay, so that's it from my side. Have fun on our Devtoberfest and of course also in the following sessions. So thanks for joining.